everyone, welcome back to my channel, Books with Lexy. I'm Lexy. So today I figured I would do a video on my recent reads since I just got back into my reading groove. I have 4 books to talk about today, and I figured I'd stay in the season, I figured I'd stay with the season, so I have actually 1 book that carried on into October. I have 2 books that are like suspenseful, and I have 1 other book that is in the season because it has to do with voting. So I hope you enjoy, and let's start this video. Okay, so for my first book I have The Lost Book of the White by Cassandra, Clare, and Wesley Chu. This book is probably my favorite out of the 4 that I read because 1 is Shadowhunters and 2 involves my favorite ship, Malik. So this book actually takes place a couple years after the Mortal Instruments series and then a few years before the Dark Artifices series. In this book, we follow McManus, Alec, and the original gang of Shadowhunters, Jace, Clare, Izzy, and Simon, as they wander the streets of Shanghai trying to find Ragnar, who makes an appearance in this book, and trying to find out the meaning behind the weapon of old magic that was used to stab Magnus. So in this book, we also end up seeing friends from past books, which is always an amazing factor and something that I really enjoy about Cassandra Clare's books because we always get to see some of the previous characters, and that's something that just makes my heart melt with like joy and sadness and like all the feelings and emotions you get as a reader when you're totally obsessed with characters. So actually probably one of my favorite things about this book was that we get to see how Ragnar and Magnus became friends and how Katarina and Magnus and Ragnar all became friends, which is really nice because we don't have that backstory at all in any of the previous books, and because the most amount of information that we have about these friendships with Magnus is probably in the Bane Chronicles, and we still never found out how they met and became friends. So that was something I really liked, and then probably my favorite part about this book was that it was taking place when Malik had further grown into such a beautiful relationship, and they now have a child, and they've had their first child, Max, and it's just so cute, and to see how well they work together, parenting and just being a couple and how they show their love for each other. So that was probably my favorite part of this book, and I would highly recommend it to anyone, but please, because I'm obsessed with Shadowhunters, please read all the other books before you get to this. Just please. So I may actually do a video on that, is how to read the Shadowhunter books in my opinion. I know it's been done quite a few times, but everyone has a different way. Some from so far what I've seen, so that may be something to come in the future. So anyways, yes, I would highly recommend this book. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, favorite ship, and Cassandra Clare is probably one of my all-time favorite authors. So the second book I have is One of Us Is Next by Karen and McManus. This is actually the sequel to One of Us Is Lying. If you don't know what One of Us Is Lying is, it is actually a book that starts out with 5 characters all in detention, and one of them, Simon, ends up randomly just out of the blue dying in detention. And so the 4 kids are left as suspects. Well, Simon actually had a blog where he posted embarrassing truths about the kids at his school, and that's why these 4 are left as suspects. So together, along with some of the side characters, they work to find out who is actually behind what's going on and what actually happened to Simon, because they are like, we didn't do it, but no one's really believing them at the same time, and they keep getting interrogated about it. So in the end, they end up finding out what actually happened. And something I actually liked about both of these books is that you didn't really know, at least for me, is I didn't really know what or who was behind what was going on in the book until close to the very end, which is very nice because I feel like with some books, and actually a lot of books, you end up knowing what's going on and who is behind the plot or whatever way too early in the book. And for this, for me, I didn't find out till close to the end. So that was the biggest upside to this book and probably my favorite thing about both of these books. So in this book, we see some of the past characters along with some of their friends, So this actually takes place with one of the sort of side/main characters of the last book, and they're friends. And so someone ends up trying to basically up Simon and his game, but with truth or dare. So if you get the truth or dare, you have 24 hours to respond truth or dare. If you don't respond, your truth is revealed. If you do respond truth, your truth is still revealed. And if you do dare, you have to do the dare. Otherwise, your truth will still be revealed. So basically, it's a way of getting kids to do whatever this person wants, or just to keep their secret hidden. So together, the same characters work together to find out who is behind this truth or dare game and to try and stop it before anything else bad could happen or go wrong like it did with Simon's game that he played. So, as I said already, my favorite thing was that you didn't know who or what was behind the plot until close to the very end of the book. And so that was actually something. I really enjoyed these books, and I definitely will probably read more like it. I have one more book by Karen M. McManus, and I will be reading that soon. It's on my to be read. So for my third book, I have Yes, No, Maybe So by Becky Albertalli and Aisha Saeed. So this book follows two teenagers, Jamie, a Jewish boy, and Maya, a Muslim girl, as they work together to campaign for the Democratic Party of their special election for Georgia, I believe. So as we go through this book, we end up seeing how the reasons for the campaigning grow into something much more important and something much more stronger. And we also get to see how the relationship grows into something that's kind of awkward to something that's really cute. So I don't know if you know this, but I love a little bit of romance. So that was something I really did like about this book. So something that I like, so in this book, there's racial and religious prejudices, which is different from what I normally come across / read in a book. And so it was nice for me in the sense that it was different from what I'm normally used to. I mean, it still had the cute little relationship that builds that I absolutely love to read in books, but it had this aspect that I feel like made their relationship stronger because they both worked to fight against it and did everything that they could to fight against the racial and religious prejudices. And even as they were done and taking a break, they still continued to talk about ways that they can continue to fight for the cause that everyone's a person, everyone is equal. It doesn't matter your religion, your race, whatever. It should not exist, the prejudice whatsoever, and that everyone is a human and that they shouldn't be treated wrongfully based off of their skin tone or their religion and all that. So that's something that I probably enjoyed most about this book, was that how the two characters came together to fight against this very important cause and how it made their relationship much stronger. But also, one other thing that I really liked about the book, in a less serious note, is the awesome grandma that Jamie has. She was hilarious. I enjoyed her a lot. Or she wasn't really hilarious, but she was in the same way. She's a grandma with Instagram, and she has a lot of followers, and so it's funny in that sense, because like you wouldn't expect that from a grandma really, but then, or at least from one of my grandmas, but she was probably my favorite character at the same time. So this is what I liked about the book. I'd highly recommend it too. I'd actually recommend the first 3 books, so this one and the 2 before it, to anyone. I love Becky Albertalli's writing. She is an amazing author, and I love how her books for me have been a way for me to kind of break out of what I normally read, like with Love, Simon, which I love to death. Oh my gosh, I love to death. I love that book so much. It was different for me because I never really read a book where the main character was gay and was actually talked about a whole bunch. Like I read John Green's Will Grayson, and one of the main one of the Will Graysons was gay, but you didn't really have his point of view about things. And so with Love, Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, I feel like I definitely got more of that, where you got to see that point of view. And so that was something that I did enjoy, and something I enjoy from Becky Albertalli's writing is that you really do get a sense of what the main characters are going through, what their thoughts are, and all that. And she brings in that different twist that isn't just a basic, oh, I like a person, let's build a relationship kind of thing that you normally would see in a book. She adds something, at least for me, she adds something that is a different thing that isn't what I normally read. And so that's something that I enjoy about all of her books that I have read. So yeah, I'd highly recommend this and her other writings. Okay, so for my fourth and final book, I have Seipe Right For Murder by Derek Milman. So this book actually was my least favorite out of the four, and the only one I really wouldn't recommend to someone. So in this book, we follow the main character Aiden while he's in New York, and he's bored. It starts out with he's bored at a hotel, basically, looking for a hookup. He finds a hookup, and his hookup ends up dead next to him. I said that horribly, but it's the truth. He ends up dead next to him. And so basically he gets some random phone calls from some people he has no idea. They're calling him by a name that's not even his. And so he's basically trying to figure out who's behind this murder that just happened in the same room he was sleeping in. And he's also trying to stay alive at the same time because his family and him have been threatened by these people who are randomly calling him. So his friends actually try to help him, but Aiden is kind of self-destructive in a way and has made choices that are not great for him. And so he feels like he's all alone in things when he's really not. So basically, he goes off on his own and tries to figure out who's behind this, and going against everything his friends ask him to do, which is call the police, not to go searching on his own, to wait for them. But he doesn't listen because, like I said, he has a self-destructive personality, sort of, where he does things that aren't great for him and his well-being. So for me, this book did not get like, all right, I can continue reading because it's actually kind of interesting, is when the FBI came in, which is probably a little more halfway into the book. And for me, that just makes it to where I don't really enjoy the book as much because it takes that long to get to the point where I'm like, okay, it's interesting, I can continue reading. And I can actually be on a roll with my reading, and I will be okay without taking any breaks from it. So yeah, that's probably why this book was a downfall, was because it took so long to get good for me. I mean, if maybe some people who have read it enjoyed it, I felt like it kept me hooked just enough to continue reading it. But I also don't like to stop reading a book and no longer read it. It's rare that I actually do that. So besides this, I actually did have like one like for the book, and that was this one specific scene in like the beginning of the book where it's Aiden and his two best friends, Leo and Jax, and basically you get to see their bromance, and it's just a funny scene in the book, so that's probably why I liked it. And so that's about it for this book. Like I said, it's my least favorite out of the four, and I wouldn't really recommend it to anyone. So that's the end for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment down below what your favorite book is or what book you're currently reading, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye!